welcome to Next in Queue. And today I'm joined with Tex Petrello. Thank you for coming on the pod. It's great to have
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. So, what do you think got you into making music?
Well, I was really into theater growing up and musical theater. And yeah, I just like really loved musicals. And um, I think that that's kind of like I started like seeing people playing piano while I was like doing theater. And I started taking lessons. And then, yeah, I think that's kind of like where a lot of my musical instinct comes from is like from growing up listening to musicals um, and loving theater and drama. And yeah.
Mhm. Did you ever do any musical theater productions when you were younger?
Yeah, that's I started doing theater when I was like 8 maybe.
Hmm.
And then I did musicals probably until I was like 12, 13, and then it became more just like regular theater plays. And then I started like doing mostly Shakespeare, which like I never intended to do, but I really love Shakespeare and started doing a lot of Shakespeare. But yeah, but I've like never really stopped being a musical theater kid, I don't think. I just haven't done musicals in a while.
Hmm. What are some of your favorite musicals?
Okay, well, my favorite musical is Carrie.
Mhm.
It's like, have you seen Carrie, the movie?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, cool. So it's based on that, based on the book, and it was like famously a huge flop when it went to Broadway.
Hmm.
And then they ended up remaking it in like 2012 or something. But um, but yeah, it's like I prefer the flop version. I think a lot of people prefer the flop version. It's like it's a mess, but it's like so pretty and the composition is amazing. And then I love anything by Sondheim pretty much. I think Sondheim's like a huge influence on my music. Um, but yeah, and then lately I've been really loving a musical called Dogfight, which is like I think around like 2012 too, but yeah.
And then what do you think is your favorite part about making music?
Um I think it feels so good whenever I have a feeling and then I'm able to make something that triggers that feeling successfully because it's like it's so hard to force it. And I think, and especially with Minotaur, I think I did force it. Like I think the whole album is close to being forced, which I don't think I should do again. But I love that I was able to create something that made me feel the things I felt when I thought of making those songs. Yeah.
Hmm. And then, so Minotaur is like an album that was like 7 years in the making. How do you
Yeah.
feel now that it's finally out there for like everyone to listen to?
How do I feel, you said?
That it's out there, yeah, for everyone to listen to.
Um, I, well, I think I feel equally good and equally bad. Um, it's hard to feel just like complete relief from all this like tension and like edging that's been built up over the last 7 years about like releasing this album. So I think like I feel both the release of that and the like the unequal amount of like uh stress about whether the reception of the album will feel like it matches the work that was put into it. But then also like having good reception feels dirty at the same time. I don't know if like you can relate to that at all, but like it's like I've been expecting the reward that I've received of having people praise it or like it or listen to it, even, like at all. But at the same time, it just is, it's weird. Like it's weird to suddenly have my like diary on display.
Yeah, I can 100% relate with that. I feel like whenever It's weird to say, but like whenever I make a podcast, like I just like I don't know, I just like music journalism and I like interviewing people. But then whenever someone tells me that they listen to the podcast, I'm like, oh, okay.
You're like, why?
I'm like, I just make it to put it out there and then it's out there. And this,
Yeah,
but like the whole point is for people to listen to it. So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And then so Minotaur tells the story of you, Ricky, and the Beast. Can you like walk us through it, like through the album?
Yeah, it starts with me meeting Ricky after like a while. Like we've been friends for a while, but we're kind of coming back to each other. And I think it's sort of like a little bit romantic at the beginning, maybe not. And then, or maybe more sexual, I don't know. And then I think we become more of a thing, or I guess I'll just like, it's like, I feel like it's two stories on top of each other as far as like the Beast and Ricky goes. But yeah, Ricky is like sort of a romantic story that kind of ends up being one-sided after like the midpoint. Um, where I think we start by playing this like baseball game, and I think I just keep playing that game the whole album, and eventually he's like gone off. And then as far as the Beast goes, I think that it kind of like mirrors the original story of the Minotaur. Um, with me being Ariadne, which is like the mistress of the labyrinth in the story. Um, and yeah, and then Ricky is kind of involved with that as well, with him sort of representing Theseus in that story, but and then the beast being the Minotaur, but the Minotaur also being present in the like modern day universe with Ricky, kind of being like a voice in my head or like a creature in my room who I'm also in touch with. Yeah,
Yeah, I do like the comparison to the Greek story. Um, because I read an interview you did with Ugly Hug where you were like going.
right. Yeah.
And I think it's really cool to like make that comparison. Like I love reading Greek mythology and I like really retelling. So it's like the album is kind of like a retelling of that story, which is cool.
Yeah. That's what I wanted it to be. And also that's like maybe why it felt like a little bit forced. Like I wanted so much to tell a specific story, but if I try too hard, I just hate the music. Um and and so yeah, I'm happy that it feels like a story is being told.
Hmm. And when you were making this album, did you collaborate with anyone else?
I think in the beginning, I felt like I needed to collaborate. And even though I think I'm really bad at it, as in like bad at giving up any sort of control. But my brother Boone did some drums on the song Eat It, which Ricky and Eat It were the first two songs that I made, and those I think I made in like 2017, 2018. So he did the drums on Eat It, and then I like abused them and like distorted them and like added so many layers. So like I feel kind of bad saying they're like his drums, but the best part of the drums on that song are him for sure, and then like the electronic stuff is me. But yeah, that's the only musical collaboration I think I did on the album.
Hmm. And so like in the Ugly Hug like interview, you said you tend to keep on building upon songs until you love every corner and turn in it.
Yeah,
How do you know when to like stop on a song or like when it's done?
I definitely don't know when to stop. Um, and I would say that I force myself to stop, but that's even hard. I think maybe I sort of like drift away from the song or I get sick of it or something. And then I think like once I can like taste it a little bit better, I come back and then I'm like, okay, I can see a little bit more clearly how I could finish uh this song and the structure of it. And then other times it just happens. I'm just like, oh, this is done. And I only need to like add a couple, like some strings or something. And then I try adding some more stuff. I'm like, oh no, that yeah, this is good. So I never really know. I don't have a specific pattern or uh like structure to my songwriting.
Hmm. And do you think with your musical theater background, it like influenced you into having this album kind of be like a story instead of, you know, I mean, there's like experiences obviously tied within the story, but like more story influenced than like a persona of sorts, kind of.
For sure, yeah. It's I think I wanted like a climax and yeah, like I wanted a specific um like build to the overall album and I wanted a concept. And I definitely think that comes from musical theater and theater in general. Um, I don't know if it's like almost an insecurity that I wouldn't be able to keep the listener on if I didn't have as many levels as I did, or even that I wouldn't be able to keep myself listening. Um, but but yeah, I don't know. I think I have like I feel the need in a song for everything to be balanced, as if it were like a painting or a food or any form of art, I guess. Um, and so I think maybe I looked at the album as a whole the whole time, which definitely hindered me as well. Like, um, I don't think I needed to look at the 10 songs as one piece, but that's sort of how I went about it. And yeah,
And what would you say your favorite song is off the album?
I think Wichita Falls, I I've had this, I've always been very technical when I'm making music or when I'm acting, especially when I'm acting. Um, it's hard for me to get in a space where I'm just like letting the music like come from my core out onto the piano, out into my ears. And I think usually I'm like I'm thinking about what I'm feeling in my brain and trying to like press the exact buttons to trigger the exact emotions and like shots of dopamine in my head that I want to get out of the song. Um, and so I've been feeling myself in the last 5 years, try to lower myself a little bit more into my chest when making music and trying to display my emotions naturally. And and I feel like Wichita Falls is a little bit more from the heart in a way. Not that the other songs aren't, they are all from the heart, but I think Wichita Falls has a little bit less of a wall between me and the music. Um, and I don't know, maybe that makes it more boring. But I think right now I'm glad that that song and the story of that song, I was able to get out in that way.
Mhm. And then if you were to perform any of the songs live, which one would you want to see the most?
What I've been doing for the last like year or so, I've been playing Anything Goes, Wichita Falls, and DeKalb. Um, but and I think I have a show tomorrow actually. I think I'm gonna play Panda Express as well, which I haven't done yet, but I really want to see what I can do with like the more cinematic, I guess, or the more like um theatrical pieces like Slick Dicks Baby and Pony Me. I'm excited to do something with. And then like Ricky, I'm excited for as well. It's like demanding vocally, like I'm doing so much because I'm like like when you're listening to the song, you're hearing me at like 17 and 18, as well as like me at 22.
Mhm.
So that my voice is just like doing so many things. But I'm really excited to do those, and I'm hoping that in the next like month or two, I can get together the like show I want to do and just do all 10 of the songs. Yeah, that's gonna happen. We'll see when.
And then like what does your live setup look like, or what would you want it to look like if you were to perform all 10 songs?
Well, I've been doing just me and the piano, which I really love, because I don't have to rely on any other music. Um, but I think that, and I used to do backing tracks and make backing tracks, um, but I stopped doing that like a year or two ago. And but for this, I think I want to do some backing tracks. And the only thing I think I would play is the piano. But I think it would still just be like me and the piano and then like whatever electronic thing is playing the backing tracks.
Mhm. And then I love the album cover. What do you like, what artists inspired you? And then like what did you want the cover to convey to the listener?
Um, well, I'm definitely really inspired by a photographer named Charlotte Rutherford. She's amazing. Um, so that was definitely an inspiration, her work. I really love I feel like my it has more of a like HD aspect than a lot of the like paintings that I'm a fan of, but I really love an artist named Miriam Khan. A lot of her work has the like dark contrast and like soft focus kind of effect. And yeah, I think I just wanted to have an album cover that you could look at while listening, and that had like a reference to the songs. And there's not a reference to like every single song, but I do kind of see that area, that lake, as being sort of like something to go off of when you're listening to Wichita Falls, which is, we're at a lake in that story. But yeah, but the actual album cover I see as being set in DeKalb, like in some little like cornfield or something. But yeah,
And you're based in Texas, right?
yes.
Do you think Texas kind of had like an influence on this album? Kind of just because I don't know, like when I think of football, I think of like Texas and things like that. And like that's kind of like woven into the story a bit.
Yeah, I think, well, okay, as far as like the actual like uh nature and like geography of Texas, I feel like that had somewhat of an influence. Considering I was like here for the whole like making of the album, and taking inspiration from like the atmosphere of Texas. And then as far as like the culture, um I hadn't even considered like Texas being like a football kind of place. But that's cool that you said that. Like I think that I definitely have taken like elements of the culture and put it into the album, and definitely not in a way where I was like super educated about what I was talking about. And I think that that's also like part of what inspires me to write music, is like um things that are an enigma to me, like someone like Ricky, um or yeah, like football culture.
Mhm. And then if Are there any like musicians that inspire you, like past or present, currently?
Um, I'm like a huge Magnetic Fields fan. I love Stephen Merritt. I'm also a big fan of Liz Phair. Um, so those were definitely two huge influences. I definitely take a lot of inspiration from like Regina Spektor and Tori Amos, who are like piano-based songwriters for sure. And then Sondheim, like I said, like musical theater. And then there was one other I just thought of. I was like, this one is important. I have to say it.
Maybe it'll come back to you.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Um, and then if how would you describe your music to someone who has never listened to it before?
I'm so bad at it. Like I'm I'm not like I wouldn't label myself as like anti-genre or anything, but like personally, genre like the idea of genres does nothing for me. And not in a way where I'm against it in general. I just like I'm not good at categorizing music in that way. I think I'm more interested in like whether like I don't think that I am interested in genres so much as I'm just interested in like the the artist or whatever. But so it's hard for me to put my music into a specific category, especially when I like have just like listened to it too much by working on it. But I usually say something like Regina Spektor. Like I try to like maybe paint myself more as like in the piano singer songwriter category. But I don't know. I think the what I would like tag it on the internet when I'm like posting it on something is like art pop. And I think that makes sense. I don't really know, but I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I bring it up a lot on podcasts. Like I feel like you can ask like 20 people what genre a certain artist is, and then you can get like 20 different answers because like
Yeah.
each person it's something different. I like generalizing a genre a lot, like pop or like,
No, for sure. Yeah.
because it's
See,
easier for
that's
that.
what I would do.
But I
Yeah.
also I do understand like wanting to be very specific about something because sometimes there's like a certain vibe that you like and you want more of that.
For sure. That's like a good language for some people, for sure. Yeah.
How do you see yourself progressing into your like next project?
I don't know because I think that I thought that this album was going to be done in 8 months when I started. And then I had like so many like I feel like every spring I was like, "Oh my God, it's going to be done." Like telling people it's going to be done, like look out. And then it took ended up taking 7 years. So I don't know. I am confident that it will not take 7 years because I put way too much pressure on myself for this album. Um, but I have no idea. I think like my like inspiration right now is like uh American like traditional music and like or classical American music and like sea shanties and so I don't know what will come of that. Um but but I'm sure like I'll go through like 20 different phases before the album comes out and then we'll all turn into one thing. But I don't know, we'll see.
What do you think are some things you've learned from making this last album that would like help you?
Um I think to not think so much about what people will feel when listening to like a specific chord or progression. Like I think I just focused way too much and focused in on little things. Um, yeah, I think just being less conscious of the listener. Um, and then um, yeah, I like I said, like trying to make music less inside of my head. Um, and just spend a lot of time at the piano. Because I think I spent a lot of time away from music while making Minotaur, and I'll probably have to do the same. But I'm excited to come back to music in general for however long and see what's happening. Because I feel like I've been in like a little bit. I've like been in my shelter and not really paying attention um to what music is around me. Yeah.
And then what do you think comes first for you, like the piano or like the lyrics?
It actually is kind of like they come at the same time, I think.
Mhm.
Um, I'm usually at the piano and lyrics come as the melody comes and the chords. Um, and then sometimes I'm like out at in a field or like at the grocery store or something, and I like am looking out in the distance at like the like display for gushers or something, and I'm like thinking of lyrics and a melody at the same time, like um that I have to write down in my notes or like sing to my voice memos or whatever. Um and then other times I'm like how do I say what I want to say right now, like, and I make myself type it out. But when I try to write poetry, I just like it makes me want to vomit. Like I can be in love with it, and 2 days later, it's like just utter trash. And so like so that's I think the music that ends up being put out into the world from me, and any art that ends up being put out into the world, I think I kind of like came to me naturally, um, rather than trying to make something. Yeah.
Okay, and so moving into the second half of the interview, you curated a playlist for us called Sleeping with My Imaginary Friend. And you said this playlist is about when you're trying to sleep and you're making up a rom-com story in your head. So,
Yeah. Oh, I like think okay, I get like sinus headaches a lot, and I just like am in bed like because I usually fall asleep around like 6 a.m. So um but I'll get like a sinus headache at like 8 p.m. or something, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I just have to like lay in bed all night. And so I'll like be in bed. And do you ever go to bed and you're not tired and you close your eyes and you're like your eyes are closed for like 4 hours?
I
I,
don't know if I've done it for that long, but yeah, I've just been like,
it's okay. Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, maybe not 4 hours,
like just like
but
the
it's
passing of time is
yeah,
like you think it's been like 5 minutes and it's actually been like
yes.
much longer than that. Yeah.
It truly is like a phenomenon or whatever. And so like yeah, this is like kind of what I'm talking about with this playlist is um like whenever I'm trying to like just like still stay still or like keep my mind still, and I'm picturing something. But also I think it's also like the chronic fangirl um like situation I have where like I this playlist is kind of like I was picturing me at like 13, imagining a life with Niall Horan. Um, and these songs
That
are
was
like
my
playing.
favorite too. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Niall was my favorite for a year, and then Louis became my favorite.
No, yeah, I think mine was like Harry, and then it switched to Niall. And I was a loyal Niall fan.
Yeah. I was definitely a little bit like I was a Harry fan underneath, but I was like not like the other girls. Like everyone loves Harry.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love Niall because I was like, he's such an underdog. And then like I was on Tumblr. It's so funny to think about myself like when I was that young, but I was like, I was on Tumblr and I was like, he only has a minute and 29 seconds of solo time on the first album. And Harry has like 5 minutes. That's criminal. Like, it's like that. Uh,
Truly Rob. Harry was a favorite. I mean, I don't even know how much Louis had. I feel like he had like 20
oh,
seconds.
Louis was the same. It was like Louis had like a minute of and something.
Aw.
Can't remember the exact numbers
I actually wrote a little bit of a fanfic back in the
back
day.
in the day.
Yeah.
I love that. No, I feel like, okay, I feel like I know so many like like One Directioners that are like working in music now or like doing like other cool shit now. And I'm like,
It
yeah,
wasn't just about the boys, it was about the
like,
music.
yeah, we were like running an army and like
Yeah.
there's so many things happening. Like all of my friends that are like really cool, doing really cool music industry stuff, Directioners.
Yeah. I mean, Up All Night, Take Me Home are like still some favorite albums ever. Like definitely like top 100 for sure. It's such good music.
Yeah, I was revisiting it. You know the movie that came out with Anne Hathaway that's just basically um a Harry Styles like fanfic.
Yes, yeah.
I watched it and I was like, why is the music low-key not that bad? It's because like the person that helped write One Direction songs was a part of it. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, maybe I should watch that. That's funny.
Yeah, it was like funny to watch. I like watching like funny things like that, like to see all of the fanfic that make it into movies. You'd be surprised the amount of fan fictions that make like they just change the story and like are actual movies or books now.
I heard someone talking about that. I mean, like I've read I'm like not an avid reader and especially wasn't an avid reader back in like 2012, 13, whatever. But I was definitely reading like after in full and stuff. Did you see
Yeah.
that movie?
I watched the first one and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, that was a saga.
Yeah. It's just like people get really invested in their fan fictions and then someone's like, what if we just changed the names?
They need to not change the names. I want to see them like I want to see a Harry Styles impersonator.
Yeah. Like, I think there's this book called The Love Hypothesis, and I haven't read it, but it's apparently like Kylo Ren fan fiction or something like
Oh,
that
whoa.
that got turned into a book, which is really funny.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I I feel like that's a fun way to write. I also like I really wish I could write like books, like be an author. Maybe one day I'll like actually become really well read and try, but I also like I I actually went back and read some of my One Direction fan fiction. I was like, okay, I maybe was a little bit onto something, but I also for fun last year like started writing an Impractical Jokers fan fiction. And it's fun. It's like a good outlet and like I think some good art could definitely come of it. But yeah.
No, same. I wanted to be an author when I was younger, and me and my sister, when I went home for Christmas, we found like my notebook of like old stories, and we like read it, and I left it on a cliffhanger, and it was really funny. And I was like, okay, this wasn't that bad. Like, definitely Wattpad-esque, but like not criminal. And I feel like you can definitely become an author. There's so many bad books that are like I don't know. There's just so many like bad novels out there.
Yeah.
People just like no, I think the hardest part is doing it because like sometimes people just do the thing and then it becomes insanely popular. Like Twilight, like I read those when I was younger. They're not the
hmm
greatest books if you like actually read them, but she sat down and she wrote like all
hmm
the pages that series is. So I feel like that's the hardest part about writing.
Yeah, I think you should finish your book.
I'm like, I want to remember, like, I don't even remember what the ending was supposed to be. I was like a
Yeah.
mystery, like, thriller girl when I was younger. It's really funny. Um, so, what are some of your favorite rom-coms?
Oh, okay. Well, when I said that, I was like, I was literally thinking just like a romantic story with, but it's like also kind of funny. So I don't know if I, honestly, I don't know if I've seen like a rom-com before.
Mm. Have you seen like Clueless or 10 Things I Hate About
Oh, yeah.
You?
I love Clueless.
Yeah, I'd consider that like a rom-com. I don't know. I love rom-coms because it's just like you don't have to take yourself too seriously with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we can say Clueless is my favorite rom-com, like rom-com that I know right now.
It's okay. It's like a dying art form. There are like no good rom-coms really. Like there are some, but it's like people are way too focused on like names in a movie rather than
Oh,
like they
yeah.
have chemistry. And sometimes it's just like painful to watch. It's like these two people don't have any chemistry and we're just forced to watch this. I'm like, I don't believe them that they like each other.
Yeah. And also, well, it's kind of been like a big year for rom-coms, right?
Yeah.
And like drama surrounding rom-coms.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's like the Glenn Powell and what's it
Oh,
called?
yeah, yeah.
One. Which I watched that movie. Tell me why they had more chemistry off screen than they did in the movie. Like, I'm like, how does that even happen?
No, yeah, they seemed like the most like perfect couple in the clips that I saw. But I guess they're like their partners were there the whole time,
Yeah.
apparently. So yeah, let's get the facts straight. Don't
Allegedly,
say,
you
yeah,
know?
according to them.
And what do you think like makes a good like criteria for like a good scenario before bed?
Just like having a crush on like a celebrity, probably. Um, I think that I I kind of did that with like Minotaur, like had probably like a couple different muses. But like by muse I mean like a contestant on like Survivor or something that I was like, oh, like a picture like going on a date with him to going on a little road trip or whatever. So that's kind of what I'm like that's the criteria. It's just like picturing yourself being with some like random person. Um, and it's more fun if it's like someone weird, like you know, a 60-year-old or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Um, is there something about like when you're falling asleep that makes like a daydream or like coming up with a scenario more enticing? Or
Wait, sorry, say that again.
is there something about falling asleep that makes daydreaming like about a scenario more enticing? Or is it just like obviously because you have sinus headaches, like is that just like where it formed?
I think it's just like a form of, well, as far as having a headache, it's like a form of comfort, like of course. And also it's kind of why I titled the playlist Sleeping with My Imaginary Friend, because I'm picturing like if you have like a crush or a friend crush or whatever, and you're kind of like picturing them next to you. In fact, I actually had this thing at my apartment that I was in like a year or two ago where I felt someone holding my hand in the middle of the night, like come in and get in my bed and like hold my hand. Um and I don't know, that's like kind of irrelevant, but but
Like
maybe that's
actually, or like a ghost type situation.
no, like, I mean, I actually completely felt it. I'm sure it was like sleep paralysis or something like that, but I had never actually physically felt something like that. It was crazy.
Mhm.
Um, so Niall Horan, hopefully. Um, but no, yeah. I think it's kind of just like, yeah, like just making up, yeah, just trying to soothe myself before bed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage?
No.
Well, it's kind of like reminiscent of like what we're talking about. It's basically a movie where Nicolas Cage starts showing up in people's dreams randomly for no reason. And like at first he becomes a celebrity because like nothing is really happening in the dreams, like nothing bad. But then people start getting nightmares. And so he becomes like really unpopular. But then there's like this device at the end that's made that like you can control your dreams and you can like hop into other people's dreams. So I was just imagining that like Niall Horn like hopped into.
That's kind of cool. That's a cool idea. It's also like that SpongeBob episode. I don't know if you know where he's like, I think he's like go traveling across all his friends' dreams.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that episode.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm a right Niall's a regular in my bed.
um, do you think like this process like helps you with like with your imagination and like storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's kind of like what the whole inspiration of this album was just kind of like going deeper into like the delusion of this story and like this life that I'm singing about in the album. Um, so yeah, for sure.
And then like what are like walk us through the playlist? Like what are some of your favorite tracks and things like that?
Okay, let me pull it up. Um, well, I've been obsessed with that song by Yoko Ono, Nobody Sees Me Like You Do. She has so much good music. Yeah, she has so much good music. My like favorite song when I was, I think, probably like six is a song by her called Kiss Kiss Kiss.
Yeah.
Um,
She didn't break up the Beatles, in my opinion.
no, oh my God, I defend her so hard. It's like actually gets my heart rate going how mad I get about people bashing Yoko.
Yeah.
She also was like a super cool artist
Exactly.
before
Like
she
why is she tied to that man just because of like what people assume happened? It's like
I know.
they were so
Yeah.
much cooler before that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And yeah, and her music is cool. I know she like I don't know if she writes it all, but I know she definitely is writing it and she writes poetry and stuff. But this song is so good. I've been addicted to it. And then also that song Log Joggle. I mean like I don't know if I'm saying that right, but um that song I was also super addicted to. And I listened to it like every night, but I had this thing where, well, I have this thing where like songs that make me not tired, like help me go to bed. Um, and this song is like super romantic and pretty and it is good for bed, but it was more like of an exciting song to me because I loved it so much. But I listened to it before bed like every night. And then I went through this phase where I was like opening up Webkins and like falling asleep to like the sound of Webkins mini games for a while. But the song is really good. I know about it because well I think it's like a famous song, but this girl on back when like Omegle was still alive, like a few years ago, I was on it with my friends and this girl from India, we were talking to this girl from India and I asked her what her favorite song was and she said it was this. So thank you to her. Um,
I love when people get music from like directly from like other people.
yeah, I was so surprised when I listened to that song and I was like, no, like I wish I could tell this girl like this is one of the best songs ever. And then this song, Lurk Underneath by Trouble Books was like my all-time favorite song when I was, I think like 13, 14. Um, my number one favorite song my whole life up until then was Hey Ya by Outkast.
Mhm.
And then this kind of like took over a little bit. And I honestly have no idea how I found the song. There's like a music video for it on YouTube that I love. But yeah, they're a really cool duo. And then this song Shenandoah um is like a classical American song and shanty, I think, but that I love. I, I don't know why, but the song Homeward Bound, which is also like a classical American song, has been like a big inspiration to me throughout like the last like 10 years of my songwriting. And definitely had I like definitely inspired some of Minotaur. Um, and this song is good, but this version is definitely my favorite. It's like beautiful. His voice is amazing, and the arrangement is perfect. Um, so yeah, um, and then yeah, Alanis Morissette also at the time of um One Direction, she was like One Direction and Alanis Morissette were like the real music I listened to because everything else was like musicals at the time. And so they were like the real music. And before I like got more into like a variety of music shortly after that, but she was like Alanis was life and the song is really underrated and good and complete. So yeah, those are probably my favorites.
Thanks. Okay. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. Is there any like words or anything that you want to leave the listener or anything you want to plug?
Um No, I think that I maybe am gonna have a music video soon. We'll see. And I want to, yeah, I don't have anything to plug. Just look out for me. Um, I'm I'm gonna be I'm gonna be doing some crazy things. So we'll see. But yeah, nothing to say, but thank you for having me.
Oh
This was
yeah,
really
thanks
fun.
for
Yeah.
coming on the pod.